Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today my special guest is Graham Currie. Graham has been a professional golfer for 38 years. He's a fellow of the PGA and has also been a director of golf at the Markgräflerland Country Club for over 21 years. Graham, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
As you know, the idea behind the show is to give golf professionals and sports coaches around the world insights and information on a little bit of the landscape and the business of the golf industry, but also, part of the changes in coaching and the development of coaching. Maybe you can tell us quick to begin with a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your history, background.
As you said, hometown Liverpool, doing my apprenticeship, moved to Scotland to finish my apprenticeship, spent a few years there playing on a playing level, and then moved around to Spain and ended up in Germany exactly 30 years ago. Came for the summer and I'm here 30 years later. Was head professional for at least 5-6 years before I was offered the job to become director of golf in the golf club. And as I very quickly realized that coaching and helping people and working with people was far more enjoyable than playing, it was an easy decision. And that's it. Here I am now.
Excellent. So we've got some questions for you, as you know. One of the first things I wanted to ask you was the current COVID situation. I think it's on everybody's mind, especially in the golfing industry. The ever-changing landscape, courses opening, courses closing. Your course at the moment in Germany is closed temporarily due to COVID. What lessons have you learned personally, both as a golf coach and as a director of golf, from this COVID-19 situation?
Good question. Well, basically when it started, when COVID came out and it started to get serious here and affect the golf and the business side, fortunately I looked at it like the game of golf, really, because there's things we can control and there's things we can't control. And I'm definitely not an expert on pandemics. I'm an expert in my job. I would like to think so. And I feel that I'm, as a director of golf, pretty expertise. But when it comes to pandemics and how to deal with crises, that wasn't my field. So the first thing I wanted to do from day one was just to follow the laws which are around, really, not to discuss, not to waste time trying to question why we're closed, why we're not closed. We were very fortunate in the sense that we were a members golf club. You can say on this side of the border, they call it a private members golf club. So we're set up where the income, which estimates to somewhere over 1.5 million a year, was set up where most of that income, the majority of that income, comes from members fees. So we very quickly from the beginning decided to make cutbacks to see how many people we could put on furlough. I was one of the first people to go on furlough for 3.5 months and save some money. At the same time, you're still working, you have those few hours a week. And we kind of weathered the storm around about March, April, but really didn't know too much how it would restart. 75% of our members are Swiss. So what happened was the borders were closed. We could open on May 11th, but it wasn't until 15th of June where the Swiss members could actually come and join us to play. And then it was, I would say, pretty amazing because it really kicked off. And now at the end of the season, looking back, we're not the only golf club. Golf in general in this part of the world has really seen a massive increase in numbers this summer. Obviously, the people, they were happy to breathe. They were happy to get out and escape COVID. So from a golf coach's perspective, I don't have too many students, but the students I do have, they mean a lot to me. So I tried my best to keep in touch with them, whether that is online or just talking to them. But once it restarted and we were able to get back out to practice and play, then it became really enjoyable. Yeah. So what have I learned? I think it's pretty important that you learn as a golf club to get your strategy right. Many people would say we're lucky, but then again, you've got a lot of private golf clubs who think they're private members golf clubs who depend heavily on guest green fees, external tournaments. We're surrounded by quite a few of them in the region, and they're missing a massive part of their income at the end of the year. And obviously this is going to have effects. We were fortunate because we could make savings. We didn't save too much, but on the other hand, we could then work hard in the short period of time we were open. And yeah, end of the season, we managed to get through without a loss, which is
just
really
for those of you out there, like Markgräflerland Golf Club, where Graham is the golf director, is right on the border between Germany and Switzerland, just in the southern part of the Black Forest. So Graham was mentioning there that a lot of the Swiss members who take up a high percent of the club couldn't get across the border. So a lot of the borders were closed for sport during that period. Graham, how do you think the COVID situation will affect golf clubs and golf coaches going forward? Do you think they will have to make any changes in the way they work? Do you think they'll have to consider things like this in the future, or do you really feel like it's a one-off situation?
Yeah, good, a really good question. A very, very good question. The first thing that I started to put together in my head as the year went on, because I'm responsible for all, not only for all the staff of my team, but I'm also, in a way, I'm responsible for the 650 members. And the one thing I thought about it, this is not unprecedented. This has happened before to businesses, whether it's not a pandemic. If we think back from the business history, you had the rise of the internet. You had, when the internet came out, you had the possibility to stream music. All those music companies who all of a sudden didn't move with the times were going out of business. Something similar with Uber. It wasn't Uber which killed the taxi business. It was the taxi business not being able to move forward and say, this is what we do and how can we do it in the new world. So golf is it's part of the leisure industry and it is a consumer business. So actually we should survive pandemics like this if the strategy is done correctly from the golf club. We're talking about the golf club's point of view now. It's out. The 19th hole was maybe not the same. So for the golf clubs who struggled this year, they will definitely have to rethink. They will, I mean, the golf clubs who base their income on green fee, or those who are in the travel, where you go on holiday to enjoy the resort clubs, they're really struggling. They potentially, if they don't have any financial backup which they can use over the years until the pandemic dies down and well, whether it disappears or not, we don't know, but things are going to get better. At one point they have to. They are definitely going to need to come up with new ideas. I don't know. I've got the feeling for everybody who's been through this pandemic all over the world, it's like we've had a year's time out from the fast lane of work and living. And well, basically we start to ask a lot of questions to ourselves about everything really, about work, about travel, about the social aspects of life. There was definitely a greediness in the golfing business, growing over the years. So, you know, and a lack of equality. All these things seems to have changed without going too politically into detail. Into the seems to have changed in the pandemic. So these people have basically, they've been looking at themselves, asking a lot of questions, and at the end of it, they're gonna come up with their own answers. And I'm very optimistic that we're in the right business. At the same time, it's short before Christmas. It's December here, and quite possibly the worst is still to come. So we need to weather that storm. First of all, we need to get our heads together. Not just golf clubs, but now the pros as well. They need to come up with ideas, not just to stay in business, but maybe in the future have some backup, have some money on the side, have some other interests. I think you're following that side much better than I am, and you've got some great ideas there how they can bring in income from other resources. So we've all got to hold together, and we've got to beat COVID first of all. And there's nothing better than being together as a whatever it may be, a PGA or a golf club or a pros team. And who knows how the future is. I don't think anyone at the moment can say exactly what it is. But at the moment, it feels a little bit like survival. But I'm rather, as I say, optimistic. We've all become a lot more appreciative and a lot more caring and a lot more, we've paid more attention to detail as we probably would in the past. So it will carry on at one point. What do you think?
Well, I'd just like from, you know, as a golf coach's point of view, like you mentioned, you know, I think the adaptation came from having to go a little bit online, having to think about the services that you could offer where you weren't directly one-to-one with your students. I think the shop also, the pro shop in Markgräflerland was also put a few things online in March. So just adapting a little bit to how you can still survive, like you said, but maybe without being directly in front of your customer. So one thing that what's come clear to me, which I'd like your opinion on, is the popularity of golf actually during COVID and after COVID seems to be in an upward trend. That people are looking now as golf as being one of the sports that actually you can do, and being outside and being healthy in the fresh air. Have you also got the impression that maybe it's actually helped the golf industry rather than hindered it?
Yeah, that is absolutely the feeling I've got. That is what makes me so optimistic. This appreciativeness, this caring, this all of a sudden, you know, golf is all over the world as a variation of being either very open or very closed to that club members society. And what definitely is attractive now is that you're outside, that you it's not just the pandemic which has probably pushed the people to enjoy the game of golf, but the very fact that all of a sudden they also have time. And I believe you need time for the game. A lot of the recent statistical studies over the years suggested that time was a negative aspect and why people give up the game of golf. You know, because time is precious, and all of a sudden we have a little bit more time, but golf is a game where you need time. And let's face it, we do need time. If you can spend a few hours on the golf course, it is the most therapeutical, regardless of how you play, therapeutical, mentally, physically, a healthy sport that you can really get your hands on. So absolutely.
So it's kind of almost highlighted some of the positives of the game for those that want to get outside and look for alternatives. So just now, with your golf director's hat on, talking a little bit about coaches and golf professionals in general. You know, you've been a director of golf for over 20 years, so you've seen the industry change. You've seen coaches come and go within your club and within the region. What do you think the today members expect from their golf pros today in regards to services and products that may have changed since, let's say, when you were the head pro, you know, 25, 26 years ago?
Very good question again. I would without being too critical, I would say, as we are in mainland Europe, I would say the vast majority of our members have not really thought through what they want from the pros, probably like in other countries. First of all, definitely in the other golfing countries, playing the game of golf is a little bit more than a hobby. You know, it becomes a passion. It's a journey from A to Z. How good can I actually get? We have a lot of students and a lot of members who jump into the sport, and it's more like a merry-go-round, you know. So what they would expect from the pros regards to service and products is they all want success. We're in the success business. We have to make sure that they're getting better. But I guess the simple answer from my side is that they're looking for professionalism all round. They're looking for a variety of services and products. We do it quite well in our golf club in the fact that the pro shop, where the pros are heavily involved, obviously, is literally a membership service center. So if our members see anything on the internet, or when they're on holiday and they come back and they say, can we get this? Then we try to do so. It's not just about the profit. It's about providing that service. That's basically how I see it from what's changed.
As a coach now, as an actual golf coach, because you still coach and you've had a lot of success as a coach, how have you changed your coaching or your coaching business to meet the demands of today's golfer? Or have you changed it, or have you needed to?
Yeah, for sure. You need to change. I mean, I try to stay authentic because that is what makes me tick. I don't try to be anything I'm not. I've tried, even though I mean, I'm full-time as a director of golf, so coaching is done in my free time. It's my second job, but I have a lot of passion for it. So I've also invested a lot of time in trying to stay up to date with everything that's changed over the years. I would say as a coach, I philosophize a lot. I like to try and get to the bigger picture. I really enjoy the one-to-one sessions with the people. I really enjoy seeing them improve. And definitely over the years, as it's gone on and on and on, my career, you've needed to become more holistic. You've needed to have a wider range of knowledge. Maybe in the beginning it was like this, and at the moment you're needing to have this knowledge, a little bit like the iceberg. What you can see and what you use is probably the iceberg sticking out the water, and the knowledge what you have to have is the rest of the iceberg under the water. I would say at the beginning it was not like that, not just because I was into the game not too long at that point, but it definitely has become far more knowledgeable, the coaching of the game.
What about in terms of technology? Do you think the technologies that are available today, things like your TrackMan, your SAM putting labs, your 3D analysis, you know, all the modern technologies, force plates, always filters down from the tour, doesn't it? It always filters down from the best players in the world. Do you think like coaching, these tools are necessary today for a modern coach, or do you think they're a luxury, or do you think it's a combination of you need some things but don't need others? What's your opinion on those things?
I think if we're being realistically about the whole thing, they're an absolute necessity. They've really helped bring coaching forward, but they cost a lot of money. First of all, they cost a heck of a lot of money. Not all golf clubs want to invest in them and say that they belong to the golf club. They're there for the pros to use. So most of the pros end up having to spend large amounts of money on this technology, and it's basically profiting a very small percentage of the students that you actually have. Although they can all gain something for it without a doubt, like you say, it filters down from the tour, because what we've seen what's happened on tour over the last 20 years, the sports scientific developments and all these teaching aids have really, well, they're not teaching aids, they're helping everybody, has really pushed the Tour Pro forward. And yeah, you've got customers, you've got students who also want to see the numbers, they want to see what it's like, or the balance plates and the K vests and all this stuff. But I still believe that we can carry on coaching the majority of the people without it.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely there's players that I've got, they would benefit massively from having that. Unfortunately, I don't have a TrackMan, but I can imagine if I did, then there's a couple of players that would really profit very quickly.
Would you say it benefits then more the elite player, the elite amateur?
Yeah, and the ones who are on that way are the ones who really become scholars of the game, regardless of the handicap, and want to know everything. And that's our job, is to give them basically what they want.
So the analytical ones want to see the numbers and things. Yeah. Okay. The relationship between the club, its committee, towards the pros, since you've been at the club, have you seen a change? I mean, I've known you also over 12 years myself, and I know you are an integral part of that makeup, and you sit on the committee. How has the relationship with the pros and the committee changed in the time that you've been at the club?
Well, in the case that some of my committee are going to watch this at one point, I'm going to be very politically correct. No, of course. I'm going to be very honest and authentic as always. It's definitely changed a lot because when I came out 30 years ago, there was a boom in golf in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and these countries. There weren't enough home professionals, so there was a massive influx from British professionals or from other countries, Australia, South Africa, and so on. It has changed because what's happened is, that's my own personal opinion, is the committees have become better. Also over the 25 years, we're still not at a level where you have 6, 8 or 10 people on a committee who are all at a high level with their golfing knowledge. But it is most definitely a different committee than it was 25 years ago, and I'll speak about other clubs there as well. Being director of golf at my club has most definitely helped the pros at my club because that's what I want. You know, the pro is the heartbeat of the club. Without the professional, there is no golf as far as I can see it. I think it's a pity that not more guys from the PGA, from their PGA training, get into the management position. No disrespect meant to other managers who come from other areas, but as a colleague recently told me, you know, we are the entertainers with knowledge in this game, and if you move into the management area, you really can help not mold but nurture your committee to make the right decisions, which not just the members are going to profit, but the game of golf is going to profit in the long run.
Are the committee members then more pro professional golfers now than they were, or is it, or can you not make it? Is it not as simple as that?
Not quite as simple as that, I would say. So you've definitely got, I would say, and I yet don't concentrate just on our committee. I know other committees as well. I would say in all the clubs you've had good professionals, in all of them, and you may have over a period of 10, 20 years, you may have 5, 6, 7, 8 good professionals. But like in all professions, you just need one unprofessional, so-called professional, to be there. And that is what leaves, unfortunately, the memories with the committees. So I know that from other clubs. In our club, it's not quite the same, but occasionally you're confronted with things because of what's happened in the past. So we just need to keep working hard. We need to make sure that we're there to help the committee. We're not there to criticize them by no means. They are ehrenamtlich, what's that in English again?
Voluntary.
Voluntary board members, exactly. They actually just want to come out, have fun, laugh and joke, play golf, have a drink after the game. That's how it should be. You know, they shouldn't be running the club. that's the job of me and the staff. It definitely shouldn't have much to say over the sporting side, because that's the professionals' job as well. So it works like that. Relationship definitely will improve. It has improved at our club, and I know that all the professionals have a high standing amongst the committee, and also amongst the members, and that's important because that's going to be your clientele base for the years to come.
As again, director of golf, while we're on that, what does a director of golf maybe? I mean, you're also, I believe, part of the managers group in Switzerland, and so you get to talk to a lot of other directors of golf, a lot of other golf managers. What are their expectations of golf professionals today within the club? What does a golf director expect from his or her golf professionals today?
Good question. Very good. I'm not too involved in the managers associations. I'm not as active as probably most of them are. I like to stick around more the golf professionals than the managers, but I would say what I expect from a golf professional is professionalism, hard work, innovation, and become and be the heartbeat of the club that you're working in, our club. I also believe that further education and not standing still is absolutely vital for any golf professional. And on a slightly different note, because it is in our DNA, that's the reason that we all took up the game. I like to see the professionals play. I like to see them. It doesn't matter how they play, but join in and play, whether it's the members tournaments or the PGA tournaments. I think that's something we forget at times, and something that I personally miss. From other managers that I know that I have this conversation with them often, and they wouldn't disagree with me, but it all depends on how the club is set up and on what the targets are. But basically, if you're professional and you work hard and you're innovative and you bring 10 ideas to the table and the club takes one of them and uses it, you're doing a great job. You're going to make the manager's job there also a lot easier. And I don't know a manager who is successful anywhere in golf who doesn't have the trust of his professionals, and vice versa.
So just looking at coaching as a whole again, what would you say has been the biggest change in golf coaching in the last 25 years?
Okay. I had a chat recently with an old friend who I used to work with in Scotland, and he's got a couple of young kids who he's training now, coaching now, and they've just got into the regional squad. And they were showing him what they got to do with the black roll and the terraband and the warm, and he was laughing about it. And he says to me, he says, a load of shite. He says, a warm up for me was a coffee and a Marlboro. What the hell are they doing? Yeah, and basically, that's it, isn't it? Sports science has improved our knowledge tenfold. The tour pros have improved tenfold. They're athletes all of a sudden. So any young guy who wants to make it in golf has to become an athlete. He can't get away with having a coffee and a Marlboro on the driving range to warm up with.
So the sport, the fact that it's become a proper sport, you could say, instead of maybe, you wouldn't say the golfers of the past were unsporty, because we know the challenges the game gives us, but definitely from a physical aspect, it's become a real athlete sport.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look, when I was an assistant, there were guys out there, Montgomery, Eamon Darcy, just to name a few with quirky swings, but they won. They were successful. If you look at them now, all out on tour, what I really like is the idea that the technical aspect has really been heavily influenced by physics and biomechanics, and certain things which, when I did my PGA training, for example, that may come as a shock to some of the new guys some of the recent guys. But for example, if you miss the shot to the right, you were never coming outside in. It was not possible. They didn't allow you to say a missed shot to the right was an outside in path with an open club face. No, I had to be either a square with an open or an inside out with an open. So that changed very quickly at one point, amongst a lot of other things. And thankfully it did, because, and I think it still will change. I don't think we know everything quite yet. So big change.
What does a modern coach, let's say somebody new who's coming into the game, let's take your assistant in Markgräflerland, he's doing his PGA qualification. What skills will he need today to run his coaching business that you didn't need or didn't have 30 years ago?
Yeah. Very, very good question. Again, he's definitely going to have to be holistic in his approach. He is definitely, well, he is athletic, fortunately. I mean, I was actually athletic as well as an assistant, but I was the minority back then, because it wasn't really taken seriously, physical training and that kind of thing. Today, it's the absolute norm. So, he's going to very quickly realize that this holistic approach needs to have a nice equilibrium of everything, and not just, I'm going to go mechanical, I'm going to go mental. If you want to have success with all your students out there, you're going to need that. From the business aspect, well, you're probably better qualified there than I am to say that, but I didn't have social media. I didn't really have any marketing skills when I started out. We didn't even have business cards. We didn't even have mobile phones, These things have changed massively. What I like is is exploring these areas a little bit, outside the box. Something that you've done. Become an ambassador to Porsche. I've been since some years an ambassador to Titleist. We're all, if I may say that, we're all social tribal creatures, aren't we? And if we get together in numbers, especially if we're good at what we do and come together, then it's going to make us all better, not just in a business sense, but also to the consumers who are going to use it. So for him, that's something he's going to very quickly need to discover, embrace, and then implement it.
Do you think also he will need to use, like you just said, be a lot more open to using partners, getting help from other people, sharing knowledge? Because I've heard from my research as well, and talking to other people, that 20 years ago you were more or less just sort of your one-man band rowing your own boat, and definitely there's something that's changing now, is sort of being open to listening to different coaches. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?
Absolutely, 100% in agreement.
That's something he will need for sure.
Yeah, even if everyone's going to remain self-employed and on an individual basis, or maybe come together in a small coaching business, we're going to have to work together, And to be fair, the brains behind golf, the associations, and especially the PGAs, they've been very innovative, I would say, over the last 10 to 15 years, and they've really followed the market well, and they're using science also to our benefit. So well done to all those guys.
So if you were going to hand down one single piece of advice to the younger Graham Currie, who's just starting out, he's just got qualified, and you were able to give him one piece of advice that would help him with his coaching and help him with his golf career in the upcoming years, what would it be?
That's easy. That's probably the easiest question I've had to answer today. Look after yourself. Look after yourself health-wise. Learn very quickly to say no. Learn very quickly not to worry about the shit that happens, the complaints, the things that are said. Don't listen to do all that stuff. Filter the bad stuff out as quick as possible, because you've got no control over it whatsoever. And concentrate on what you should be doing, because we are in the results business. And laugh and enjoy yourself. Never lose your sense of humor. Look for that life balance. That's the longevity which is going to keep us in the game for as long as possible. So I wish I could turn the clock back and say that to the young me.
Okay, good advice, very good advice. So you've been coaching over a long period of time. We've discussed this before, you know, in the past. How do you stay motivated, and how do you, if you like, reinvent yourself over a long period of time to keep pushing and developing yourself? Where does that motivation come from?
Yeah. First of all, I'm not too sure I reinvent myself. I'm committed to the cause. I'm very, very lucky that I chose a career. I almost went into another career when I was 16, 17, 18. And I'm so glad that I decided to come into this business, because not everybody gets to wake up every day and know that they're going to work and do something that they love, you know. And when you have that passion for your job, now, regardless whether it's coaching or managing or running tournaments or a sport organization, you can't stand still. Standing still is professional death. And there's a very good book which I read some years ago from Simon Sinek. It's a book called Know Your Why. And he talks about 3 simple steps. First of all, we're talking occupational wise now. First of all, know what you do, know how to do it, and most importantly, know why you do it. You know, so in my case, very quickly, it is to guide or nurture my students to their potential. For my members and guests, it's to give them an incredible golfing experience every time they come out and visit us. And if you can have that success, then you go home in the evening and you're energized. So whether I reinvented that over the years, I'm not too sure. I'm very lucky to be where I am, and I'm very lucky that we've kept moving forward, because I know there's other clubs they get stuck. But I would say that is one of the most important things to creating this intrinsic motivation, which is because we don't always have the best days all the time, but even on those days you go like, come on, yeah. So that would be my answer.
So understanding why you do what you do is what pushes you.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, there are people that doing jobs they don't want to do, you know, for no fault of their own. Not everyone can do the job which they want to do. And that's a massive strain, and obviously they have to motivate themselves in other ways.
Do you think like a golf professional today needs to have a vision of where they want to be? I'm talking now from the business point of view. Do you think a golf professional needs to have a clear vision where they need to be 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? Or do you feel in this industry you can more or less go day by day and in that sort of mindset?
No, I think you definitely have to have a vision. You have to know a little bit where you want to go and what you're aiming at. You definitely, like the game of golf, you definitely need to play it shot by shot. You definitely need to put all your effort into that moment right now. But you definitely need to have a vision. So, for example, in my case, I never imagined that I would get into management. I was so happy. Coaching and teaching and working in Spain just gave me a little bit of a sniff of what it was like to work in the organizational side of golf. And then the president of the time at our club came and offered me, after the current manager was relieved of his duties, he offered me the possibility to become director of golf here. And he actually explained it very good. He said, well, you know all the people, so there's a huge advantage. So, yeah, it's another good question. I hope I answered it.
Okay, so last question for today. In your opinion, what differentiates an everyday golf professional, an everyday coach, to the real top ones? What's the difference between the guys who have huge success in coaching and the guys that, you know, do a good job at a golf club? What do you think is the difference?
I think it's like that in all occupations and all jobs. I think there's a massive difference. You've got good professionals. You've got average on all jobs. You've got average. You've got good, and then you've got the next step. You've got the genius level, and I think the real top guys. I don't know too many, but those that I do know, they're geniuses. You know, that their knowledge is just incredible. They're almost like mad professors. You know, they not quite the guy from Back to the Future, but along that kind of way in a way. You know, they go that little bit further. They turn up for work like all others, and they just work harder than the rest. They know what they're aiming at. They know where they're going, and when they get there, they want to stay there. And that's what you see over the years. You see these top coaches who, not necessarily now just tour pros. If you take, for example, a Jim McLean and a Hank Haney, who, you know, they spend the majority of their time teaching their club golfers, but these guys are absolutely geniuses in their job. And I think that's what we should all be aiming at. I think it's such a pity, such a shame, if you don't want to aim up there, because we're going to benefit our students, and the game of golf is just going to be better for it, you know. And I think it makes us satisfied also at the end of the day in a better way. So definitely the big difference is the top guys, they're geniuses.
Brilliant. Well, Graham, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate you answering my questions. For the people at home, I hope you've enjoyed the insights from Graham Currie. And if you like what you've heard today, please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Graham, Christmas is around the corner. Just want to wish you a happy and safe Christmas. And I look forward to catching up with you at some other point, maybe having you again on the show in the future. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for listening. Thank you.
Take care.